I'm at 2851 Westonridge Drive in Cincinnati, Ohio, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. The access point here is this 3-inch stack here, and clean out, cast iron. And then if you look over there, there's also a PVC stack that if have any trouble getting through this, we'll go through that. But this is the furthest one to the rear, so we're going to go in through here and try to inspect as much pipe as possible. So it should be cast iron under the floor. This is going straight out. Cast iron is just kind of a rough material, only because you can never really gauge how much time is left, you know, the life expectancy, or how much time is left for the line, only because it rusts. So obviously eventually it will rust through, but you can't really tell other than finding, you know, obvious holes and stuff like that. You really can't tell how much time is left in it. This looks nice and open. A lot of times they have like a wear channel in the bottom. The older they get, just from the water eroding away mixed with the rust. But this all looks pretty good. Don't see any major issues. Looks like the flow line is wide open. This happens a lot too. You have a buildup of where the a branch comes in, and so you can kind of see a buildup of rust materials, and like a lot of times, because you can kind of see the channel where it comes out of there and turns down to head out towards the main. And so it's starting this. You can tell this path gets a lot more usage than the one coming down this stack. And as it exits here, cast iron exits into clay here, which is normal. Right when it exits, right past the foundation, it'll exit out and go into clay. The cast iron, one thing I want to note is that it, because of the rust, it can also, a big problem is, you know, catching wet wipes. I always recommend never to use wet wipes in a cast iron line. You don't want to use them in new lines, but it's even more critical in cast iron because of the rust. It can easily catch it, and those do not break down like toilet paper. So if they do catch, they cause a lot more clogs and stuff than most other things. You just want to use toilet paper that will disintegrate after time in the water, and then the and obvious natural materials. Okay, looks like we have a crack right along the bottom here and a broken line. So I'm going to have to mark this. I'm actually going to see if I can jump through there and inspect the rest of the line first, and then when I come back I will mark this, because I believe this will be right outside the foundation, and you can see how the water will be dropping down into the ground and can undermine, cause sinkholes and undermine the surrounding area. So I'm going to try to shoot through here, and we'll inspect the rest of the line, but this is definitely going to have to be repaired. So you can see the buildup already of the that gravel that's getting in from right there, from that break. So it's probably going to have to be this whole section, because you can see right here there's a little bit of there's some cracking and stuff, and so that 3-foot section of pipe, and there is some ground intrusion up above. This will have to be replaced, and then here's some more buildup of pea gravel stuff that was probably surrounding the pipe and at the foundation. So I will mark that on the way back, both of those spots. And then it will have to be cleaned out, obviously, afterwards to get rid of all the pea gravel and stuff that's entered the line, because that could easily cause a backup. So, you can see from me pushing up against that stuff, let's see if we can. There, it looks like there's a connection from the top here. I'm going to have to see if we can run some water in the basement and see if it's even going to make it through to this point in the line to be able to rinse this camera off, but I think it's just going to dump out into that into the ground. And so I believe the footages were like 23 and 27 feet would be the beginning and the end of that broken section of clay. But we're going to wait and see. If nothing else, I can push all the way out to the main, and then we'll go from there as far as rinsing the camera off and being able to inspect a little bit better on the way back. Sometimes it happens when you push out, you can push up against something and it gets all over the lens. That's obviously what happened here. So let's see if we can find some water. I can't see, there's obviously some haze on the camera, but I can't see enough to see any kind of structural issues. And so far, once we've got past that point, the rest of the line looks pretty good. And so I'm kind of going a little fast here because I know I'm pretty much going to have to go out to the line. Here we are switching over to SDR 35. This is probably where it left the property, and we're getting close to the main. I remember I actually took a look in the manhole, and I believe this comes out high on the manhole, and that's what this is. I'm actually hanging into the manhole. So let's see if I can get down here and rinse off in the water a little bit. And that way we can see real well. But this line does come directly into the manhole. You can see the bench and how the line turns. So we are inside that manhole hanging. So I may have to pop back through here a little bit. There we go. So we should have see pretty clearly on the way back now, but I believe based off of the somewhat obstructed view I had on the way out, that the line seemed to look pretty good structurally, other than the spot right there at the foundation, which is an obvious issue and will have to be dug up and repaired. And so the water is coming down the line, and we'll have to see as we pull back how it's getting around that gap. But obviously it may be filling up that spot. So this looks like concrete actually coming through here, and then it does switch back into clay. Obviously when it exited it was clay. This, you can see the bit of exposed aggregate or rocks on the edge, and so from that SDR 35 PVC, like up to that point, and then we'll see where the clay ends and where this concrete starts. There we go. Now we're in clay. So from this point, it is from 56 feet on, it's concrete until it hits the last little bit of SGR 35 when it enters the manhole. So for the first 20 feet, it's cast iron. And then from there to 56 feet, it's clay. And then after that 56 point, it's concrete. But again, so far, everything looks good structurally except for that major damage there at about 25 feet. It goes like 23 feet or 24 feet, somewhere around in there. This all looked good. Obviously, it's filling with water, but we saw most of this here on the way out. And now we're filling with a little bit of water, especially due to that. It should be coming up on that spot. As you can see, these were just spots where the rocks were built up and holding water. So here's that 28. This is right where that spot ends. This is the section of pipe. And so this whole section of pipe would have to be replaced from 27 feet back to 24 feet out to 27 feet, like I mentioned earlier. And so what the water's doing is filling up that void and then making its way down the line. But as you can see, the pipe is busted. So it's more from, this is all cracked too. So basically from where the cast iron ends at 22, 23 feet here out to about 27 feet, a couple sections of clay would need to be replaced due to the cracking and then the obvious hole there in the pipe, bottom of the pipe missing, so that it doesn't start causing undermining and some structural issues. It may even affect the house. So I'm going to pause the video here and I'm going to locate exactly where this break is. Alright, so this is at about 2'5". It's in the front of the basement floor. So the good news is this is before it exits the house. So it changes from cast iron to clay before it actually exits the house through the garage. And so the good news there being that it will be easier to repair because this is right about at the foundation. So this would be pretty much interior, be right up to the foundation. So this is on the inside. Just means it is shallower. It's about 2'5" to the invert, which means it's about 2 foot to the top of the pipe. And so that's a lot easier. You do have to break up the concrete, but it is easier than having to dig 8 feet deep outside. And there should be, looks to be maybe a clean out or something right there. It could be that stack over there. But I am going to mark that with a piece of tape on the floor, and should be able to see it. The problem is that that's the only bad spot in the line, and so everything else looks great. It's just right here inside the garage. There's about a 4-foot section of pipe that is going to have to be repaired, replaced, whatever. So that it doesn't cause any other issues under the floor or cause backups in the sewer line. So the majority of the line looked good, but from 23 to 20, I will say 22 to 27 feet needs to be replaced. It's a section of clay where the bottom is broken out at about 22 feet, and then going through that section, that whole section, 3-foot section of clay, is damaged and cracked, and then where it meets the next section of pipe, there is also what looks like some ground getting in there too. So I'm going to recommend that this be refer to a licensed plumber for repair, and you shouldn't need a reinspection after that, unless they want the repair inspected. But normally, you'll be able to see that when they actually do it. But yeah, I'm going to recommend a repair from 22 to 27 feet, and then before anyone takes occupancy. So that will end the inspection at 2851 Westonridge Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio.